Welcome back to the LCS Proving Grounds, and Dean, we have ourselves a series. On top of that, it was off the back of a Singed being picked in the mid lane, so wild series we had ahead of us right now, Dean. You take all that away, because my god, this was a wild ride.
It started off with another solid early game from the side of C9. In the previous one, a lot of times were playing a lot more reactively, being like, okay, we're going to respond to what it is that AOE is trying to do and then like beat them at it, which is what happened. This time it was like Captain Shrinks was just like, I'm just going to do anything I want in the mid lane to start off this game. I'm going to go down 30 CS, but it's not going to matter because I'm getting kills for everybody across the map. And their kind of control across everything was what led them into a very good kind of advantageous position. But again, throughout this game, you can see the moments where it's like team fighting is definitely there from the side of AOE. This is a good example, even though they end up trading 1-for-1. But Faisal, when he's able to connect with Darkwings and that Slicing Maelstrom comes through with the Aurelia ultimate, things turned out usually pretty okay. This was the one situation where, again, the 1-for-1 really didn't look that great. But whenever those two were able to kind of lock hands and really come together inside of these fights, that was when things were great for the side of AOE, even when they're down this much early.
Yeah, AoE's team fight is the one thing that just pops out to me so many times, time and time again. What they bring to team fights is so coordinated, so calculated, that it really brings even situations where Cloud9 Amateur are so ahead, it really brings these to a knife edge. It really brings it on a coin flip.
It does, and it forces C9 to play with a level of coordination and a level of precision that's kind of oftentimes difficult to replicate. This was another great example where, again, Faisal over the wall, he's showing why this team fight is just so good for AoE. When he hands like the Slicing Maelstrom, it does amazing things. Even though C9 is still currently leading, they've got dragons on their side, they're doing everything properly. Things are still turning back and forth between the two, because around these neutral objectives, it is so hard for C9 to just make sure that AoE doesn't have the chance to really come in and contest them the majority of the time. So there's that to consider. Even though, 90% of this game, it is C9 controlling things, that 10% of the time that you're fighting around neutral objectives ends up turning or making this game look like a turn.
Yeah, and this was another one of those cases where Faisal, you believe he can bring the big comeback, but every time there's these parts, even when Faisal falls, you had Sketch, who was looking phenomenal on this vein when we got to the later stages, and he was able to pull off mechanics like this, flashing over the wall, chasing people down, still getting kills before he even falls.
Yeah, I can't commend Sketch enough for not only the patience in game one, but also to pick a vein in a composition like this and be able to make it work the way that he did, or as effectively as he did, was kind of incredible. But again, the range disadvantage and his kind of lack of presence in a team fight most of the time was at least a bit of a hindrance. There was that play, and this one where he ends up trading and doing very well, because look how far back he's able to kind of focus one target at a time. There's another Slicing Maelstrom into an Aurelia ultimate that combines into a solid fight that gets Darkwings into the backline, and notice front to back, literally lined up for Sketch Streams to just auto attack forward, is the perfect setup for AoE to be able to make the team fight work.
Yeah, but you see the same exact thing coming out of Wixie as well, playing it exactly front to back, and when they capitalize on him too much, when they close on him too much, he's still grabbing the kills. This is the only time he fell in that series, falling to Sketch in the process, but ultimately Sketch is going to fall as a trade, leading it to be a net win over to C9 Amateur.
The ADC versus ADC matchup in these team fights has been just astonishing to watch, even though C9 sometimes look like they're losing fights like a fair amount of the time. Again, if you're able to rely on Wixie or on your backup on the other side, things can change very quickly when 1-to-1 set up. This is like the ultimate at the very end. It was very heavy because there's like a ton of members right here, and he just got burst. The Zonius doesn't accomplish much. They get one in the process, but that Slicing Maelstrom doesn't really connect with anything really tangible to start in that fight, and because of that, while it drops 3 people to like 40%, sub 40% health bars, it doesn't win them the fight the way that they would want to connect it with an Aurelia ultimate to start to pop off. Just came out way too late in that fight, which is what kind of closed the game out for the side of C9.
Yeah, and even in that last fight, Sketch positioned so well, but it just wasn't enough when you're that far behind. Big hats off to Wixie for putting on the performance he did put on. We saw now what that buffed up Xayah can do. As we said, no damage buffs coming out of Leona, so Wixie was full throttle in that game.
Now, I have to postulate a question to you specifically, which is, the game was lost by AoE, so they have side selection. Do you let C9 back onto red side now that they've showed that they will literally pick Singed mid lane as a counterpick? How do you plan for Singed or anything else in the mid?
I don't think you can plan for them. I just think you throw it straight to the champ select and cross your fingers that nothing too fishy pops out of nowhere, as we are going to head to said champion select. 1-1 apiece, area of effect, Cloud9 amateur.
And AOE's right back on blue side. They're running back the game for the third time in a row. Do we get
their own form of the salty run back?
Okay, third form of the salty run back. Honestly, I'm more excited for the not salty run back because I don't know that they can top Singed mid lane, but saying that is honestly a curse, which I'm kind of hoping for here for C9 to be able to top that kind of thing. You did see, though, again, a lot of the early game has been presence between XU's pathing and then the combination of these lanes supporting him and Captain Shrimps being able to roam and support not only like XU exclusively, but the map as well. If they're able to get a really advantageous pushing matchup in mid lane, I feel like you can quell some of this early game from C9. They're going right back to the same bans. Thresh ban would be the third one to come out here if C9 wanted to follow it. Same thing over and over again. Lee Sin for RBM.
Lee Sin. Are we prophets now? Yep.
Yep.
That's it. Just look at the last draft and call ourselves
Diego
prophets.
Leona. Let's see if we continue on this path. You see the onus. Oh, go ahead.
The Lee Sin, to me, is definitely something you shouldn't change on the side of area effect, because RBM has been clutch in a lot of these situations with the Lee Sin, so
yeah.
I see no reason to step away from that.
I agree with that. It's been pretty good. Leona and immediately Diego. And now the onus is now on area of effect to change their draft at least a little bit, because last game, their early game, kind of... Okay, that's just trolling. Okay, thank you, Mr. RBM. That is a very big meme. I want to appreciate you for being able to throw that up. That's at least something to consider, is that, like, how does AOE kind of change their composition? Because C9 was able to make it work. I doubt they can pull out Singed to mid lane again and make it just, like, force that. Rom would be interesting. I loved the Aurelia as well. It didn't do a ton in the earlier stages, but in those team fights, Darkwings actually was putting in an obscene amount of work, even if it wasn't like pulling every single kill across the board. I almost would like to see them go Braum and then Aurelia here, so that they can set that up. I know that would kind of pigeonhole their ADC pool potentially to being pinched off so they can get advantageous for Wixie, but I think it was a very good champion. Now they're running back game number 1.
It's game number 1. Oh, no. We finally got the salty run. Zereth. No, Ziggs. Ziggs, right? Okay, now Ezreal. Okay. This is better. I like this. I like this a lot more, though.
Yeah. Remember, the only adaptation I wanted to see from C9 in game number 1 was putting Ezreal in the composition instead of Ziggs. We still have a chance of that being the case of getting the salty run back from game number 1, only with C9 ending up having that. Not going to let it happen as the Azir gets taken off the board, so we are getting different compositions now.
This does leave open the Gwen if we are doing the run back from game number 1. That was banned away last time. Over on the side of area of effect, they banned away the Jace and Aurelia, focusing on the top lane, which still could be the focus here. I mean, top lane solo lanes are still available on the side of C9AM. Pretty much got the same thing going over on AOE.
AOE wanted to make sure to pinch off at least a little bit of the top pool. I wouldn't be shocked to see Kennen get banned here, just because I think Kennen was awesome for Faisal, and it's fallen into the order of everything that he wanted. Game number 1, the Gnar, fit into that very well. They banned Renekton. It tells me they want Camille for Speedo. That's what it's telling me. I think AoE has to ban Camille here unless they have a plan for it. That's at least something to consider here for the side of C9. And Speedo is a very good Camille player.
Very good. Incredible at that champion. Over in the playoffs, 4 out of the 4 games he played Camille, won each and every single one of them. It's a champion he's definitely confident in.
And then the question is, if AoE bans the Camille, what is your next play? And that's exactly what happened. So now it's okay, what are you blinding? Are you blinding your mid lane or are you blinding your top lane? History would show that they're going to blind their top lane right now. Kennen is available if Speedo wants to take something like that, but with Renekton and Camille both off the board, that comfort is gone. The Aurelia is interesting because it can be flexed, although we don't see it too much in top lane. It's like 95% mid lane, if that is even like remarkable. So while flexible in theory, it's usually going into the mid lane for Captain Shrimps here.
So it's still going to leave the counter pick over if they do want to go for that top lane counter pick, which, you know, they most likely would want to have that over on the top side, try and punish out the newbie in Faisal. And Lawrence has been pretty good on that top side, but going for the control mages now, AoE. Happy to take the Orianna onto Darkwings, which is standard for his kit. This is pretty much one of the most iconic Darkwings champs he could really have.
The Darkwing's Orianna, he pilots that champion with such a plum that it makes it look like a different champion altogether when you're able to watch it like kind of just dominate the laning phase and then also become an amazing team fighter across the way. I've seen him, I think, go off in the early stages of the game, which is relatively rare. Okay, I was about to say a Volibear would be a really interesting addition, but here we get the set instead. as the potential response. I don't know if they want to put that into the Aurelia or what the plan is. I'm thinking that they think this is going to be a top flex Aurelia and that Orianna's going to try to get punished right here.
Find out. Still waiting for that hover. Quinn. Okay, I mean, at this point, it's spicy enough that the Singe was so spicy that I'm ready for any level of spice from C9AM, but
yeah.
Instead, it's just going to lock in the Galio. That's going over towards, we put in that top side, yeah.
Yeah, this is a lot more standard of a draft, and actually massive props to AOE being able to read the fact that that was going to end up being in a top lane Aurelia, because there aren't a lot of teams that would plan for that kind of thing. They would just go, okay, the Aurelia is an insanely strong champion. There aren't a ton of responses that we would have to it here on the blue side. They grab Orianna, and that lane doesn't look particularly enticing. And they say, okay, we'll call your bluff, grab the set here. If C9, if Shrimps was ready with the Aurelia, they could have potentially taken the Aurelia lane and got a counterpick to the likes of the set. But AOE, again, they're calling the bluff and winning out on that one, because now they get their set versus Aurelia matchup, which I think they were planning, and then Captain Shrimps on the Galio, similar to the likes of Twisted Fate, can affect the map. But again, it's a relatively free laning phase for the Orianna if you don't have XU kind of enter and try to use that CC to its fullest.
Yeah, you can punish that as well as the roam that comes out from Captain Shrimps when he is going to be looking to do that. If you could lock him down in that lane, that takes out so much worry for both your top lane and your bottom lane as well. But if Captain Shrimps does get freed out, there's so much zone control, there's so much counter gank that you can really get from a Galio being able to just show up with that hero's entrance.
This is also perhaps the deepest scaling composition from C9 we've seen through all three games. This early game doesn't feel like it has the same kind of punch when it comes to supporting XQ, so XQ might be a target of affection finally for RBM, where if you have a decent lane state bot side, if you have a decent lane state top side with the likes of the set, you can support RBM in aggressing against XQ for what is the first time in this series, whereas in the previous games, XQ has received so much support from his lanes, but with an Ezreal, you're not usually going to have a bunch of pushing power, and even Galio usually is going to have too much presence over the Orianna in terms of like pure wave clear outside of maybe like before first back or something like that. But most of this is going to be C9 Amateur actually wanting to try to team fight with a Galio on top of an Aurelia or a Viego diving in, which is interesting that they are taking the contested 5-on-5 team fight, which has been the strength of AOE through the entirety of this series.
And it's still very strong with the comp they've drafted right now. I mean, if Helios, you slot him in, you're good. You got the Orianna with the Shockwave if you are to start bunching up in those areas, but the Glacial Fissure to be comboed with that. There's a very deadly team fight on the side of Area of Effect. You know, just throw in set and everything he's able to do. RKO everyone into the back line, into the back end of the team. C9 Amateur, however, they do have some decent responses. I do like the fact that they're able to pick out, that they're able to engage on a whim, especially since you still have Breezy on that Leona.
Oh, yeah. Breezy's Leona has been great through all three games here for the side of C9 Amateur, and he honestly can also be a dive buddy that goes alongside the Galio as well to set up more space for Aurelia to kind of pick the angle that you want to attack into. The other big thing is, like, usually, like, sometimes Leona has to hover around an ADC who isn't super mobile or not super safe, just because, like, if a Lee Sin or a Set gets on top of them, they are going to be in some dire straits unless they're, like, really fed. Ezreal's not one of those champions. Ezreal's somebody you can leave on the backline, so it's like, all right, see ya, Ezreal, I'm going to go diving into their team. And Ezreal's like, can do, boss man, and just continue the team fight from there on its own.
All right, game point for both teams. We are evened up in this best of 3 LCS Proving Grounds. Wanted to start hot. This is how we go. AOE versus C9 Amateur. And this time, no funny business, Rebel. No funny business. Not messing with you anymore. Taking your heart rate a little bit down.
This is a Rebel Fox draft. No funny business whatsoever. All serious, nothing crazy. I like the fact that we've also come back to comfort. I'm pretty sure before the season had started, Faisal, one of the most played champions he had was the set. We talked about Darkwing's Orianna before the series had started, and we were talking about draft. I was talking about Wixie's Ezreal as being one of the most popular champions. And while typically it's Twisted Fate, we do see a lot of the kind of like global impact champions from Captain Shrimps, despite the fact that he's got a champion Neptune with something like Singe. The Galio fits into that mold just as easily as anything else.
I'm glad we're using that line more often, but there is the winner's bite. That's first blood. No escape. Here we go. AOE going to start us off first blood in the mid lane, handed over to Darkwings.
Shit played Singed. Just gonna say, Singed has 100% win rate in the mid lane and 100% first blood rate. What a turn that was. That was it's a late invade, well punished from the side of AOE. They've now done that twice in a row, where like somebody on C9 for the red side tries to poke their nose into that jungle to get a ward down on the Raptor pit to get some information for XU. Again, more and more resources put into XU. Here, it's punished much more heavily than what we saw in game one, where it was, I think it was Breezy walked in, got poked a little bit, had to walk out, wasn't able to put down the ward. Here, the ward was put down, and that cost Captain Shrimps his life. Good adaptation from the side of AOE, good first blood as well, and for the Orianna of all people, which is helpful for that team fighting, helpful to keep Darkwings, pressing Captain Shrimps, who is now summonerless on a Galio in mid.
And it poses the question that we haven't seen in the series so far. What if AOE are the ones who are able to get the early game lead? What if they outperform C9AM and actually get those team fights at a chance where, they actually have a lead and can bring the fight to C9AM? That is a scary situation for C9AM to have to deal with.
That is. And we haven't drafted lesser of a team fight. You've got Set, who isn't a traditional team fighter in terms of like what a tank or a fighter can always do. But if you get a good flank, the way that Faisal has been doing in the last 2 games, it is a terrifying prospect of what you could do with both the showstopper, the haymaker, the facebreaker, all these nice words that describe all the kit of Set. So his ability to flank around is going to be invaluable, especially when an Orianna can kind of synergize with that with the ball, and the usefulness of also what will be the Moonlight Vigil. We're seeing Faisal just bully this lane. Again, I cannot commend enough the coach. Pukar, I don't know how you 10,000 IQ predicted that Speedo was going to be running this. Again, against 90% of teams, this is going to go mid lane. You went Orianna, which is not a fun matchup, into the Aurelia to start this game off, and said your early game composition can take the Aurelia matchup if you want it. And C9's like, all right, you got us. We're throwing the Aurelia top lane, and you get the Set versus Aurelia matchup with Faisal. Seems to be very, very well kind of acquainted.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot from his coach, is a lot of positivity coming from Faisal, that Faisal is the person who can stay calm and can adapt quite well and confidently. Doesn't really tilt when he's over on the top side, that he's been a joy for AOE to have to work with.
It's been a joy to watch him as well. That was aggressive from Speedo. Again, I think just pushing off Faisal as a way of pushing back, just trying to get some of the CS back in his back pocket, just because at the moment with the CS that's currently standing out, it is a one-wave advantage for the Set, who's going to be able to back on the same timer, TP back in, and continue this onslaught of play up against the likes of the Aurelia to begin the game. XU, again, I'm keeping my eye on him because usually he's been able to make some things happen in the earlier phases of the game, find some aggression, but without lane support, with this Set having one top lane, and again, with wave clear advantage that should come about from Sketch Dreams and Zyko when they are about in the bottom lane, it should be easy enough to support 4 RBM if XU decides to do something. So this should be the slowest paced early game that we'll have throughout all 3 of the games, and we've already seen that. While yes, there was the first blood that came about from the kill, we haven't really seen any massive moves from anybody yet. In fairness, we did have the singed mid game, but doesn't matter.
So a lot of control being established over by AOE on the bot side is going to enable RBM to just happily grab the scuttle all by his lonesome, all by himself. Still have control for the dragon as they grab more vision deeper into the jungle of C9AM. AOE with a pretty solid early game start. Start off this game number 3. Game deciding. TLA awaits.
TLA does await. The winner of this match has to play our championship team from the side of the Academy split. That was, they had a couple of substitutes over the course of the split. They looked really good. We're actually seeing first move XU looking for Faisal here.
Going right after Faisal. They get the stun on Faisal. A lot of health that you have to work with if you are Faisal on this set, so doesn't have too much to worry about. Falls to about 300 health. Just a little baby poke walks away.
It doesn't even burn the haymaker, man. He just doesn't care. Walks out from the 2 of them. And like you said, baby poking away, trying to knock down his health bar. But Chad walks on out. Still has the TP, even though Speedo burnt his, so there's that to consider as well. Stuck around as well. He has the... Oh, wait, no, my apology. He TP'd back into the laning phase and now has the cover of RBM if they wanted to regank him. So should be able to punish that. Again, across the map, control in every single lane from the side of AoE and no early aggression because not even a summoner burn from XU. Very, very deep contrast to what we've seen from C9's early game over the course of over the rest of these games so far.
Yeah, I would like to see the gold leads across every single game, just to see how often AoE has been at the forefront of these games. Because let's face it, we don't see it that often. We saw it in game number 1. It was at the very end. 6K ahead, I believe C9AM was for the longest time before AOE was able to get that lead. Now they're sitting about 1K ahead, which really doesn't mean much 6 minutes into this, but it is a different change of pace for the series.
That is. I do also want to. I'll keep updates and stuff as often as possible, just because Wixie is one of these big kind of win conditions for the team. Currently setting up an entire wave over the Aphelios, which is just good farming on his regard. Again, comfort on this champion. Wixie is pretty much just known for the Ezreal more than anything else, and so I'm happy to see that they've given him comfort back in this game. This is what I've been wanting to see from Wixie basically since the inception of the series, because it's something that like it defines his style as a marksman in that bottom side of the map. So comfortable already, doing well, hitting nearly 10 CS per minute at only 7 minutes into the game. I think they're zooming in because he missed that cannon, which is tough for Captain Trimps, but I mean, he played Singed mid lane. He's okay being a low econ mid laner.
So Rift Herald area getting control of over here is going to be AOE. Here comes the team fight. Captain Trimps jumps on in with the Hero's Entrance. Haymaker going to be used. Now the flash coming out of Faisal, but there's nowhere else to go, friend. He will fall. C9AM able to get that kill on the top side.
It's tragic because, again, this is just like a bunch of C9's members being able to cover for the top lane matchup. The Haymaker missing also was terrible. The Q from the Aurelia had actually been saved by Speedo, so props to him being able to get out of the way of the true damage that might have been able to turn that in the right situation. The funniest part of that whole thing, though, flashed into the face of Breezy. I know Breezy wanted to hit his auto attack button, but it would have taken the kill, and so he had to just walk past, no assist allowed to go onto the support because he couldn't touch him. Because if he would have killed him. And so in the face of that kill, Breezy able to kind of like withstand, prevent himself from taking that kill away from somebody else who needed it. Thankfully, it goes on to XU.
That feels bad, man. We got to take a look at that again. Not even for the later end of this fight. I just want to watch. Yeah,
Breezy. Well, how did this start? Yeah, we didn't get to see too much. Yeah, Breezy eventually as well. So Speedo took the stun ultimates to get that one. Okay, this was actually really cool to get him out of that zone from the Galio. Very smart play. And again, Q is still available because it just got reset. Getting him behind that W probably would have done 300 or so damage. And there it is. Breezy just has to walk away. Oh, no. Feels bad, man.
How's it going, bro? Bad day. I'm sorry.
Breeze past.
Here's XU. Oh, and here comes the focus on towards the bot side. Lots of damage on the Breezy. Falls very low, sub 200 health, but will be able to survive.
Yeah, so it would have been funny right there if he would have died, and then I could have been like, wow, if he had given him the kill and he got a cloth armor, maybe he would have lived that situation.
That's the difference right there. Cloth armor.
It would have been a different, yeah, made all the numbers difference right there. But that's just again the range advantage, the wave clear advantage. AOE's bot lane able to put some kind of work into Breezy and Wixie, who are still just catching waves over and over again, and using that kind of like initial kill from Darkwings and the spot side, they've been able to run Dragon and Bottom River to relative expectations. So game's really slow. This I think favors AOE, given just how well they've been able to play out pure 5-on-5s. We would like to see a bit more interaction with Crafted Shrimps with the rest of the map. XU having that first kill, maybe he can convert that once he gets his first item, has the Sunderer, and able to kind of get out and about with this Galio. Maybe that's going to be the play here, but again, if this goes kind of the way it is right now for the next 10-15 minutes, eventually you're going to get Orianna on 2-3 items, you're going to get Set, who's going to be tanky enough to be able to kind of be a frontline engager or a bit of a body blocker, and Sketch Dreams is going to have enough gold with a Moonlight Vigil with his auto attacks to just rip through a 5-on-5. And that's where C9 eventually gets tested, and their composition, I don't think, can take that, especially with just how good the AoE's been playing.
XU has no idea who's waiting right there. RBM will be able to show up. Showstopper going to be used a good chunk of damage onto RBM as Faisal's able to stay alive. We'll use the Haymaker, finally able to pop it. We'll get the shield to keep him alive. Dragon's Rage going to be popped, but the last auto from Speedo just barely on the back end of that, able to get the kill.
Very, very close 2v2 dueling between the two of these, between the champions here in the top side of the map, the top of the jungle on both sides. Very close, like you said, in and out between the two of them, bouncing up and down. Flash burn from Speedo, as that's the second Haymaker in a row that probably would have led to his death that Faisal could not hit because of the mobility that this champion has this time because of the defensive summoner. The bigger thing, I think the end of that play was really big, although Captain Shrimp's now in some dire straits. Breezy's here to help support.
Rough place to be, but he doesn't even get stunned up. He's going to turn this around. Darkwings is too low. Out comes the shockwave, but he's just trying to delay the inevitable. The rest of the squad caught out, and C9 Amateur, just like that, 2 kills picked up for free.
See, when AOE is sitting in these lanes, they've got like this ability like Orianna into Galio. That's not something Galio is going to be able to capitalize on very, very often. In the Set versus the Aurelia lane, you're going to be comfortable as the Set. And now you see them trying to make these interactive plays on the map. And this is where C9's early composition is able to really kind of find their abilities here. Good damage from Faisal. RBM versus... I want to see what happened there, because there was so much damage on RBM. Yeah, he's half health from just like the one combo out from XU. This Haymaker, the Flash... ruins everything for poor Faisal. I loved this from RBM because the kick disengaged the likes of XU, but he couldn't quite get away from Speedo fast enough. If Speedo had been even one step further back and couldn't get that Q, it would have meant that the life was there for both of these members. This is Darkwing and Psycho trying to punish on the way back in, but Breezy's already here. And then I think the bigger part of it, Ezreal ultimate tagging, the communication they have to be able to get that ultimate there for the damage necessary. Huge. Wow. Didn't even recognize that. Awesome from Cap and Shrimps using just the small dash backwards to avoid the Orianna shockwave. Really impressive display from C9, who finally have been able to break open the early game at least a little bit in their favor, especially their top side.
Yeah, getting those kills, that sidestep with the Justice Punch, beautiful. Nice response coming out of AoE to try and get that punish, but, you know, Orianna really is not known for her burst damage. You gotta wait till the later stages when you are able to get that shockwave to be that one really big punch that can really change a team fight. Now, as we do head back onto the Rift, it's gonna be a kill lead going over to C9AM. After a pretty solid early game that we saw from AoE, it's gonna be continued as XU starts heading over towards this top side, looking to continue putting punishment onto Faisal.
And normally, like, in this lane, I would be like, okay, things will be fine for the likes of Faisal, but because the advantage has been get alert, especially with this Rift Herald coming through, if this lane wanted to continue for the side of Faisal, he would have needed a Bramble Vest, just because I think it denies the healing, denies the auto-attack spamming from the likes of Speedo, makes his life a lot harder to try to take the one-on-one in, but Faisal didn't build that, because this really just kind of onset all at once here against the likes of the Aurelia. So if he wants to dip into that, he's going to lose the ability to have his Mythic item that fast to be able to compete in the dueling sense in that way, but that's the only way he gets the lanes. Like, if you build Bramble Vest, then that means you want to continue this one-on-one laning phase. If you don't, that means he wants to leave this lane and he wants to go fight. We'll see whether Faisal, I am assuming I know which way he's going to go with something like this, but we'll see what he decides on.
AoE put a hard emphasis on this Drake. You can see they just set up for it right now, putting a lot of deep wards in. Really trying to spot out where C9AM are going to be once they go towards that blue side, and if they try and go for the contest, it's still going to be a couple seconds before that Drake does spawn, but you are starting to see that setup there if they do want to go for a team fight.
The benefit here is, like, the more dragons that you hold, the more threat that you have that you get that scaling advantage that the soul point is going to be able to give you, and that's when you can pull the other team into fighting you around second, third, even just the soul point specifically. And again, AoE wants to try to force that because that's been their bread and butter through the entire series, and that's why they've been putting, I think, a lot more emphasis on getting these dragons. I'd like to see them even go for the second one. Worst case scenario, if they've got a team fighting composition, which they have set up, they can stall for it by just having more time from these dragons not allowing anything else. This has opened up C9 to be able to go for things like the Rift Herald that have been opened up, give themselves more gold advantage. That's what we saw entirely in Game 1, with C9 focusing a lot on the kind of advantages early on into the game, and it bought time for AoE to eventually scale, which is the one mistake. And I think C9, understanding that, they're shifting into bottom river, they're going to go for this dragon, make sure they can control that, so that time is not in control of AoE. They do not have the ability to just force 5-on-5 whenever they want if C9 controls the first, the next two Drakes that come out.
Yeah, a little bit of a rough spot there. RBM was on his top side of the jungle. Only had resources there to clear out, nothing towards the bottom side, so a rough positioning to try and set up for that Drake. It really wasn't circumstances lining up for it, and C9AM, they just got the faster track.
And now, like, there's not too much punishment to come through. AoE is still scaling to the best of their abilities right now. They've got this Aphelios, Orianna, both on the Mythic, both starting into their second items that should be completed soon enough. I want to keep track on Wixie because he's also that scaling option here from the side of C9. On the bottom side, they're playing.
Glacial Fissure used, but RBM has been a little bit impatient with these Sonic Waves lately. Can't find the stun on the Breezy. He's going to be able to escape.
Tragic right there. Not able to find that concussive blows to be able to get the Lee Sin. Almost certainly RBM's able to capitalize on that. Worst case scenario, you just ward hop behind, you're able to get the kick, or at least put him into a wall or something with a flash, but can't even get the stun down to be able to kind of generate that for the likes of RBM. So situation, just a little bit of burnt pressure. They are going to be able to collapse this wave, and both of them backed off. This could just be the tower being given over to the side of AOE, and it looks like that's going to be the case. Rift Herald was burnt on top tower, which got first tower of the game, but here Aphelios able to pick up solo gold, which is big. Again, this is kind of the team fight that they want there. Aphelios should be powerful enough eventually if they continue to put gold into him the way that they have thus far.
And they got him built up quite well. Shield bow, last whisper all done, as well as boots. Now hitting the rift. Reset coming in from AoE as they start walking towards the mid lane. And this is where the laning phase pretty much all comes to a close now. You're going to start seeing that side lane pressure. Speedo already headed towards that bot lane.
You see Rift Herald being spawned here, and maybe that's what AoE is looking for. The faster they can get these 5-on-5s in order, the faster that their kind of gameplay is really going to come to fruition, which is what they've been looking for the entirety of this series. As Rift Herald going to be up in just a couple of seconds here, mid lane is where their bot lane duo is going to show up. Orianna's going to be able to shove out top lane, and you can see C9 shifting everyone into this river. They know what AoE is up to. They understand that they want to contest for something like this, and they're willing to take that punch. They're willing to say, maybe we can throw one back. We got Speedo here with 2 kills. If we've got the Galio here, and level 11 Galio is a very tough thing to try and deal with, especially with this Everfrost. Even Wixie has this Trinity Force after just a couple of seconds in combat. As long as he's hitting abilities, hitting auto attacks, he's going to be a threat to deal with as well.
So really piling in towards this Rift Herald is going to be Cloud9 Amateur. You have Breezy waiting in the wings, able to find the flank if anyone is to walk through. But yeah, no contest going to come out of AoE. They don't feel safe going for it. A lot of their vision already got denied earlier when Cloud9 Amateur went into the blue side jungle of AoE. So instead, AoE are going to shift their attention towards the bot side as they start pushing that lane instead.
They will. They've got 3 members kind of hovering around Faisal right now as the Aurelia is returning to lane, but Aurelia is just going to be able to farm underneath that tower, so they can't really force anything. So that that quadrant control that they're looking at right now, I'm just like observing when Dragon's going to be available, because that's pretty much all they're going to be able to transform it into is just pressure for that Dragon. Flash?
We had a flash burn on Speedo in the bot lane. They tried to go for an engage on him. Sadly happened off camera, but they were able to get some resource out.
All right, helpful. Not able to set up any sort of like flash ultimate for what will be like an eventual contest for what could be second Dragon, which is important. But again, kind of indexing that many resources into this top side, or this bottom side, my apologies, from the side of AoE, has prompted the Rift Herald, and 4 members actually going to show up here. So this should be just gold into the pockets of C9. The ability to shove that wave further also just gives so much control over the side of C9AM, who can punish you. You stand too far forward, and you again, it's not the Xerath ultimate, but at minimum it's like the Galio ultimate. If you've got somebody that can get on top of whoever's farming in the mid lane, throw a Galio there as well, immediately you are just punished for trying to farm, trying to push that lane out so you can contest some of these neutral objectives.
That mid lane tower going down, you're going to see C9AM be able to push a lot of that vision a little bit more forward. Breezy on the flank looking for RBM. As XU tries to claim his red buff for himself, RBM is going to be a menace. Support versus a jungle battle. Not going to happen. XU will be able to secure the red buff for himself, but the rest of AoE are now starting to pile in towards this mid lane. So are C9 Amateur, and they're going to look for the engage. Breezy goes in first. Low health bar for Faisal. He's able to use the Haymaker, gets a good chunk of damage in, but AoE have already gone on retreat, sacrificing their top laner.
They want to put more members in the mid lane just because, again, if you don't have enough members there, then it's a potential force fight from the side of C9. But all that does is it puts Faisal in a bad position as a melee champion. He's too far forward, ends up getting caught out. His team can't really support him because it's too tough to try to engage into the likes of this Galio, this Leona, and this Aurelia, who are all about in the mid lane. My apologies. The entire time, and the whole time Darkwing's also not able to respond to the fight, so they can't even generate kind of a pure 5-on-5.
Ooh, good play coming out of Captain Shrimps. Good attempt to come through, and now the counter engage is going to come through from Cloud9 Amateur, going to force the teleport out of Speedo. Shows up in the top side, but the fight going to be discontinued. All that being said, though, it does buy XU time to be able to grab that Drake.
Yeah, I can appreciate that AoE was trying to find a strike on the map somewhere, because C9 had won the mid lane fight. There's no way you're pushing through mid lane with multiple members. You had Speedo on bottom side kind of controlling the wave, and he's already too strong really to deal with in either of the one-on-ones without him just getting pushing pressure. So instead, they put that into top side. They say, okay, Darkwings, let's try to make a play happen, or at least respond to the play that's trying to be forced onto you. But again, with Speedo's TP combined with Breezy moving up there, they had the necessary members to push AoE off, not allow them to capitalize or continue that pushing battle into that top side. which buys, it costs Speedo a little bit of pushing pressure, because maybe he could have taken bot lane tower if they didn't need him there. However, it does open up, like you said, XU to take that dragon, continue to pull off those resources that AOE has been looking to try to push for.
Now you're going to have red buff onto Sketch, clearing out vision from the bottom side is going to be AOE as they start making their way up towards the mid lane. You still got that side lane pressure coming out of Speedo, who's been an absolute menace. Doesn't have teleport this time. Faisal does have it available if it were to be met in the side lanes. You always got to keep in mind that stun is available for Aurelia if she's able to catch out Faisal doing that teleport. But now we're back at it, Dean. It's the North American ARAM. Everyone pile up towards the mid lane.
Yeah, and ARAM back in. Oh, that's Darkwing's losing a lot of health. Oh,
that's Darkwing's losing his life.
Did XU just reposition like a single Teemo to the left for that? Okay.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, more team fight to break through. Glacial Fissure doesn't go out in time. There will be no team fight for AOE. They're forced to just back off.
Yeah, they lose one of their biggest components in Orianna to start with, so already that team fight is mostly chalked. The Moonlight Vigil is not, or like comes out, doesn't have as big an impact as they would have liked. And then, like you said, Zyko not there to throw out the Glacial Fissure, not there to be more shielding. All you got left are the kick and then the ultimate from the likes of the set. That's not enough. And now this composition, this isn't double mage. You've got Viego, Aurelia, and Ezreal to bear down on this Baron buff. I don't think he can do this. RBM's got to steal. I don't think he
can't do it again. He's trying to go for it. He can't jump in. Hasn't got the drinker yet. Nope, it's still there. He can't find it. Down goes Baron. It's going to be C9AM who pick it up. And now the fight looking to continue from AOE as they're going to track down Speedo, be able to take him down. But Baron-empowered recalls are going to ensure that Captain Shrimps gets out in time. And overall, that's not too much to lose. You lost your top laner, but C9AM grab Baron.
Able to break things open. 2 team fighting components taken away from the side of AoE. Everything else is relatively low range, and there's no Moonlight Vigil to capitalize, so there's no massive punishment to come out, especially without Darkwings being there until very late into the fight. Yes, you lose Speedo, not that big of a deal, because now you've got Baron. You've also got this Ezreal who's going crazy. This is RBM's best attempt. He tried. He was behind the pit, ended up getting brought down by Wixie in this process. I don't know when this happened. Okay, that was right there where Wixie was able to go over the rest of the wall, as the opposite side was when the set went down. That whole thing happened. As C9 pull yet again a 5k gold lead, but this time with a composition that I think's team fight is a lot easier to execute. You've got Galio Aurelia to be able to throw in, you still have XU on this Viego, and now you've also got Wixie's Ezreal to be able to bank on. This is much harder for AoE to just like win team fights with off the back of their team fighting prowess. They have to get a bit more. It's really difficult to try to set up what it is that they're trying to do right now. They really need to connect their pieces very well between Faisal and Darkwings and Sketch Streams all at once to find a win.
They get XU. XU going to use the ultimate, a lot of damage onto RBM, who has to safeguard away, but there comes the Shockwave onto 2. Not going to be too much of a threat. Breezy starting to position forward. Minion wave getting smaller and smaller as Weeksy is going to start shooting in Mystic Shot after Mystic Shot. C9AM, they can't get the engagement though. You can tell AoE are really itching for something more if they can find a team fight, but it is not the time with the Shockwave down.
No, they're still on 2 items. They're getting into the area where eventually Aphelios and Orianna's damage is going to start to come online, but still, it's difficult to try to burn through what is this Galio, what is this front line here from the side of C9. You still ability to engage with multiple members. You've got good damage behind it. They can siege on towers insanely well with this Ezreal, who's able to actually put in damage from such a far distance away. It makes it hard for AoE to find counterplay, especially since Darkwings burnt that ultimate so quickly. I was thinking maybe this is going to be an attempted team fight. They've got 5 members here, but Aurelia is pushing in mid lane. They got to make this work right here and right now.
RBM's looking to go in. Here comes the engage. Glacial Fish is going to go out. It's going to land onto Wixie, who gets knocked up, but it's not going to do too much. And there we go. Counter engage goes through. Justice punch looking to land. It will land onto Zykin. He falls. Going for another one. It's going to be picked up as XU looking so good. Able to get the double kill and will continue his chase. He will go after Darkwings. He will claim Darkwings, but will not find the Solar Flare in time. Wixie, however, gets the mark with the Mystic Shot.
That is beyond frustrating. Another fight for AoE. They focus down Speedo when he TPs into the fight, but they lose so much health and so much inability to try to escape right there off the back of the Galio ultimate and damage that comes out on the front line. Just get run down here from C9AM's composition. They're already low health. This is already going to be a difficult fight with Zyko being as low as he is right here and right now. And no engagement into Wixie. I want to point out, he went completely untouched basically this entire fight. Just able to free fire through his own minion wave, able to put pressure onto his many people as he wants, and eventually caps with a kill onto Darkwings after the rest of his team is able to catch every member out, except for the Aphelios. This is C9's team fight looking a lot better than it has in the previous 2 games, and with this early game advantage, especially with the Baron, now 3 dragons under their belts, it's really difficult to see AOE coming back in this one unless they have one of those miracle moments the way that RBM was able to generate with that Baron steal in game number 1.
Cloud9 Amateur have saw the strength, and now they're looking to utilize it for themselves. Not letting AOE just team fight their way to victory. They're going to take a team fight composition of their own and be able to take it to the face of AOE. As AOE on the back foot, AK down and looking for more, and they're going to try and find it in the top lane. Zenith Blade finds its mark, but unable to do the chase because the minion wave showing up at the opportune time.
Absolutely, especially with the turret and the grab. I mean, like, if you're stuck under that tower, it's going to be rough. Darkwings throws that ultimate again, just trying to find something on a Breezy. They're just looking for even a kill at this point, but they can't find it. It's just so easy. Like, that's just an Orianna, one of the biggest team fighting ultimates they've got here for the side of AOE, gone to waste trying to pick off Breezy. I understand, like, the frustration that's got to be here right now, but you got to use that at more opportune times. I know it was going to be quick, and it's going to be back up here for a second, but not being able to pick up that kill has got to be just like, it's the amalgamation of the frustration that you're feeling on AOE. Even if they put their tools together, it feels like they still don't have enough to be able to take this team fight.
I mean, Leona got nerfed, but not that nerfed to make her that squishy. So.
No.
Breezy still stands, and yeah, Darkwings, he's been trying to find these assassinations, quote unquote, to go with these shockwaves, but every time that shockwave's down, that is their team fight being down, and that is tempo going over to C9 Amateur, and they do not forfeit any bit of that. They go to the map, they establish their vision, they get control where they need to, they find the picks where they need to, and they are dominating AOE at their own game.
Fine fishing with it. It's still down here for at least a second, so they're trying to find that timer. Right.
Solar Flare onto 3. Here comes the Hero's entrance, able to get the double knockup. Can't even get the shockwave out. And now all of AOE are locked down. Health bar so low. Faisal will fall, and so will the rest of Area of Effect. Wixie jumping over the wall just to get the triple kill. Sketch is the only one who's gonna survive, but he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders as C9AM come knocking.
I don't know if it's C9 timing, the fact that the ultimate wasn't up for Darkwings quite yet. They had a couple of seconds use it right before he died, but it wasn't available at all. And C9, because of that, they're just going to win the game right here and right now. It was AOE putting in so much of a fight for 2 straight games, coming back into game number 1. But C9, their resilience comes through most of all when it counted. And here they are, 17-4, dominant execution of their early lead that they've had for 2 straight games, finally comes out and gets them their win in the series.
Man, what can you say? Cloud9, multiple LCS titles, multiple Academy titles. Now they're looking to get some titles onto their amateur team, and they look good doing it. There were some struggles with the team fight. AOE really, really solid when it came to that, but Cloud9 Amateur, they were more coordinated, they were more calculated. You can see they came together as a team when it came to those plays.
That early game was so good, and it was difficult to kind of dig your way out of. At first, I was like, AOE is doing fine. They were even in gold. They weren't giving up anything. They weren't doing anything too crazy. They weren't looking for these plays. There's like, okay, if you leave this game the way it is, I think you're comfortable going into later stages with Orianna Aphelios taking that team fight. But as soon as they got a bit like aggressive to start with, as soon as they started trying to be like, okay, let's push for some advantage, that's when things ended up getting cost. It all started like, this was the first aggressive play for C9. It didn't matter all that much because 1 kill onto Faisal. But this play also snowballs into that attempted catch in the jungle, and this is really where C9's first advantage comes from.
Yeah, because for the early parts of this, we did see AOE get that momentum, get the early kills, and we see Breezy step away just one more time to visit that one. But C9AM, when it came down to it, when they needed to, they knew exactly where they needed to press the tempo, where they needed to press the pressure, and a lot of that was towards the top side with Speedo and the side lane threat he can be.
The case. And any attempted aggression from AOE or attempted counterplay from AOE to begin this game really was thwarted time and time again. This was a great example of it. A couple of other plays from RBM just could not stick in the right place across the map. This is the play that I think really solidified this early game going disastrously for the side of AOE, where it's like, before this, it's like, okay, we can rely on scaling, we can just chill, and things are going perfectly fine. But after this play, this was like 4,000, 5,000 gold lead that ended up coming through. Aurelia picking up kills XU picking up kills led into this situation where eventually this team fight wasn't able to come out. They were able to snag Baron, and all of a sudden the game just began to snowball completely out of control for the side of AOE.
Man, I was really feeling like there was a chance right there for RBM to get that Baron steal. But when that doesn't go through, C9 just do not stop. And they did not stop in any of these fights. One of the big things you were talking about in that last fight was Wixie. How free it was for him, how uncontested he was to just do damage, Rebel.
I like I said, in game one when he's on the Ziggs, we talked about it not being a popular champion for him. There's a reason, and it's because, like, right here, it's a similar type of champion, but Ezreal just allows him to be so much more aggressive instead of positioning back in fights all the time. He can go forward, and he can be the damage dealer when he's got the health bar to do it, and you see that time and time again. He did it again on top of the Galio ultimate right here to be able to bring down Darkwings. That ultimate had only just come off cooldown, and they timed it perfectly so that the team fight was not even going to close to coming out, and he just like sweeps up the rest of these members. He brings down RBM, brings down like Braum over the wall, which was really incredible. I thought he was going to go for a pentakill, but it ended up not mattering. But C9, when it came down to it most, they were able to rely on Wixie and the drafting that they had to out teamfight AOE, despite the fact that that was what they were banking on consistently throughout the entirety of the series. And while game one ended up being like a 48-minute game that they flipped, they honestly had great control through all three games. I think C9 is happy with the performance they had. Things got a little rocky in games 1 and 2, but I think they're okay. If they can clean up that team fighting and they can try to transition that mid game a lot better, it's going to look really good for them going down the line.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot of hope for C9 Amateur and the way they've been developing as a squad. As we said, this is a very consistent roster. They've only had one change since February, so pretty much 7 months being able to stay with this roster, being able to run this group. And they're looking good. They're synergizing well, especially what we saw in that last game, the macro, the way they all played as a cohesive unit. I believe Wixie has been one of the more vocal members of this squad. Not Wixie, I'm flipping it on the other side. Excuse me, I was thinking AOE for a second. AOE actually does have a lot of shot calling coming from their ADC. But yeah, this entire squad has been solid with the way they've been melding together as a team and with the way they with the stuff they've been able to pull off in terms of development over these last couple of months.
Yeah, I can't give them enough props. When we first saw them, they were not looking very clean. They were looking very sloppy. They weren't looking like a team that we would expect to have the tag C9 kind of attached to them. And they've absolutely earned that and plenty more, because this team has grown beyond expectations of what it ever could have been if you had watched them back when they first made their debut in Risen, like last split at the beginning of spring proving grounds, which is when we first saw this team in that iteration kind of take place. The coach, again, he talked about how initially XU and Breezy were doing a bunch of the shot calling. You have to think that's grown. That's what the coach has said, is that all the other players have had a lot more outspoken of a voice, and they've been able to kind of develop that part of their game a lot more. And I think you can tell that, like, if everybody is contributing to the comms the way that they were, those communications were fantastic, especially the first half of game 1. They were playing immaculate like play calling, pretty much top to bottom. I could not give them enough props for what I saw in that particular game, for what it was that they were able to accomplish. So this team has come a very long way, and I'm very happy with what it is that they've been able to accomplish thus far. Now they get to go against Team Liquid, which is, that's a test. It really is.
That's the one I was about to mention next, because yeah, exactly. That's what's in their way, and that, you know, they're coming off their first time ever winning a title in Academy. Team Liquid had never won one before. It's the strongest that Team Liquid Academy has ever looked as a squad, and this is what they're standing up against. This is definitely one of those battles where you have that feeling of David and Goliath.
It feels like that. I know C9's coach, they talked at least a little bit about this, and they said, okay, they're very talented, but they're not unbeatable, and they have confidence in their players and their ability to play. If they can take that early game and they can like make that transition the way we saw in that third game, especially, it will look like a challenge. Jungle versus jungle is going to be fun because, again, Armeo is able to smurf on a Sejuani to get a pentakill, and XU in that game took Viego 3 straight times in a row. So seeing that matchup is going to be an absolute blast. But I know that C9AM, this is what they've been kind of licking their chops for, getting ready. We didn't get to see them at UGP to play against any of the other Academy teams that were about that had to qualify through that circuit. So this is their first real tried and true test against one of those Academy teams on a stream, and they get the trial by fire of going against Team Liquid or Champion.
And I mean, what a way to like burn off that rust, because we were talking earlier that it's been a while since C9AM has played. You know, 11.14 was the last patch that they played on, and you know, to go all that time without playing, you know, you were lucky you're going against a team that's gone 2 patches without playing as well. But now the crash course has begun. You've had time to remove the rust. It's time to begin the real challenge. But enough about that. We have an interview with Captain Shrimps standing by. Captain Shrimps, no camera, but welcome to the broadcast, and congratulations on your victory.
Thank you, thank you. Do I sound okay, man?
Okay. Yeah, you sound fine. I'm gonna get straight to the point. Singed in the mid lane, talk me through it.
All right, so in scrims, when you play against Irelia, you run into this problem where AP jungles are not that good, so you want to play AP mid, but, you know, like, typical control mages are not that favorable into the Irelia matchup, so then you have to keep brainstorming down the list, you know? What's good into Irelia? You have melees like Silas, Fizz, but, I mean, even those matchups are unfavorable, so, I mean, we just had to keep reaching until we found a solution that clicked, and just happened to be singed mid. So it is what it is, I guess.
Are you aware that's the actual first time in competitive that we were able to find that Singed has been played in the mid lane?
No, my teammates mentioned something about that, but I mean, I can imagine. It doesn't really have many good matchups, so it's definitely a if the stars align type of thing, you know.
So you've made a transition before from your old amateur squad, which was just randoms, to Cloud9 amateur. I want to know a little bit about that transition, going from that type of environment into an actual professional org now overseeing you.
Okay, so the first thing is coaching and just like overall organization structure is much better when you're with an org, obviously. But you just have access to like a lot more resources. So if you want to look at VODs of pro players, you can get that. If you want to watch scrims of you know, LCS or Academy, you can get that. You have access to better coaching staff. I mean, when I play on Just Randoms, it's literally just 5 guys we got together from solo queue pretty much, and we had a
Just
coach.
randoms.
And yeah, that was it. I mean, we were paid $0 for playing, so we were pretty much just competing by ourselves for fun.
All right, and Rebel Fox, do you have any questions for Captain Shrimp here?
Yeah. So game 1 was a long game, and you guys had that pretty impressive lead to begin things, and then things kind of went awry. Ended up losing that one before you got to turn it around, take the series. Tell me, what were things like in between game 1 and game 2? What kind of communication did you guys have, and how did you kind of stay grounded to make sure that you guys could come back after like such a difficult kind of loss in that sense?
Okay, so pretty much I just I had to flame our jungler for inting the first game straight up. No, I'm just kidding, man. I think everyone knew that we were in the driver's seat for that game. We knew exactly what we had to do to win it. We knew exactly what went wrong. And I think everyone going into the second and third games were very confident that we can pull them out. I mean, I think we were up like 6 or 7K by 25 minutes. It's just the first game we felt under pressure. You know, they stacked a couple drags. We haven't played stage matches for a while, so we were a bit jittery. But after the first game went over, we reviewed a little bit. Everyone was good to go for the second and third. I don't think there was any issues at all.
Actually, there's one question I want to piggyback off of that one as well. Going so long without playing competitive, you guys won a couple of patches. I believe it was 11.14 all the way to 11.17. What is the process to get you ready for something like Proving Grounds right now?
I mean, we didn't play in any competitions, but every single person on the team is just, you know, grinding the hell out of solo queue. We're still playing scrims like maybe 3 to 5 times per week. So we're always staying on top of like what's the meta, what's not in meta, what changes have happened between patches. I don't think there's anything really all that special about the way that we practiced for this tournament. But yeah, we just stayed on top of things.
All right, Dean, any closing statements?
Yeah, one last question for you. You guys now have a date with Team Liquid Academy. Team Liquid Academy obviously are Academy champions. You got any thoughts for us on that series?
I think if we stay calm and play the way we did today, we have a pretty good shot of taking them down. I think in every single lane we have good matchups, and you definitely feel some pressure, facing off against such a hyped opponent. But yeah, I have confidence in my team that we can pull it out.
All right. Well, congratulations. Your very first win of the Proving Grounds. And
Thank you.
Best of luck in your future games.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
All right. So way to start it off, Dean. A 3-game series. Kangas, Cubby, you guys were missing out. You should have been on day number 2.
It's not just 3 games, but also 2 games that went way past 30 minutes into like 48 minutes at one point. So we're climbing into like game 4, game 5 territory at that point. But I'm here for it because that was amazing. Second series of the day. Hopefully it shows us the same kind of thing, because that's a level of excitement that I'd like to hit a second time as well.
Yeah, so we are going to throw it over to a short break. And when we return, we got another hype matchup coming your way. It's going to be FlyQuest Academy versus Zeus Gaming, so be sure to stay tuned.
Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
You get so much more than this, a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans, like Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, as well as Discovery Plus, with a Galaxy S21 Plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best. Only from Verizon.